You want to talk about the Madam Web trailer?
No, let's save that. Let's save that. That is the Madam Web versus Craven versus maybe they'll drop the Venom 3 trailer. That's a whole Patreon we can do.
Oh man, what a great! No matter who wins, we all lose.
We all lose. Episode 462 of the TV Dudes, recorded November 22nd, 2023. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. This week, we're talking about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, Netflix's new animated adaptation of the Bryan Lee O'Malley graphic novels with the cast of Edgar Wright's movie. Before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Les.
And this is Nick versus the TV Dudes.
This is there's a big surprise in Scott Pilgrim episode 1. We'll talk about it when we get to it, but the ad campaign, they deliberately buried the lead, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about, I have thoughts on that marketing campaign, whether it was a good idea or a bad idea. But I guess before we do all that, we should start talking about our TV diaries.
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
Oh, hold up! I think are there 7 evil ex-podcasters for this podcast?
7 evil.
Yes.
There's Greg,
Grant, Kyle,
Johnny
Neal.
We've had guests. Joe Parson was on there enough times.
Sure,
he could be considered.
We can get to 7. We can get to 7.
Ashley filling in making it the X's and not just
some
the
of those
X's.
people. Some of those people literally like dated Ramona like twice, for a week in 7th grade.
Yeah, we can get to see 7 evil X's of the TV Dudes for sure.
I was really surprised that Kyle's not Kyle's real name.
That's young Kyle.
I don't know if anybody else got far enough to find out that Gideon's real name's not Gideon.
So I watched the finale of Loki season 6 or season 2. And I know y'all talked about it last week. I was very, very pleased with the ending. I think that's the general internet consensus too. Tom Hiddleston has basically come out and said this is basically his swan song. He doesn't intend to go back to the character.
Right, which means there's no Tom Hiddleston version of the character coming down the pike, which doesn't mean shit because now we have a multiverse.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There's plenty of Lokis to pick from if the God of Stories ever steps down off the throne,
I have a feeling that after the Marvel's unfortunate box office and the strike-related 1 year without Marvel that we're about to have, that there's going to be a lot of, and of course the Kang beats women issue they've got going on. I think we're about to get a lot of
I think we got to add an allegedly
plan
on that.
Okay, sure.
Technically, he beat it allegedly.
Well, no, he definitely hit her. It's just context because there was physical evidence.
Right.
He admitted to that part.
Just in the context of how fucking boy, God.
Yeah.
I was method acting. I'm the villain of the
Jesus
MCU.
Oh, Jesus, dude, that's not going to play out like you think it is. I just think
you never did a little bedroom Kang roleplay, Randy. Come on, you uptight.
Of course I have. That's when you bring in 3 other guys dressed as you, right? That's Kang roleplay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of them is a lizard.
And one of them, no, and one of them just talks like this.
One of them stutters. One of them stutters a lot.
I believe I am climaxing.
Anyway, like I said, I think Marvel's going to be reconfiguring their entire plans, which as an MCU fan makes me nervous because I kind of like the plan they had, but also I didn't love the plan they had, so I'm okay with them maybe shuffling stuff around. And I loved the Marvels and I loved Loki, so I'm not in this fatigued place. I'm honestly, like, give me more.
This whole phase has felt like feeling out what was working and what wasn't. I don't feel like there was a grand plan going on except for Kang anyway. So
yeah.
Like this reshuffle, I feel like this reshuffling was always going to happen. It was just like,
and I know all the fans. I mean, like the Marvel nerd, like we know, and people who follow Hall H stuff know that Kang is supposed to be the big villain. But like the rank and file people that make these bajillion-dollar movies,
yeah,
are more than if it were just us, Dredd would have succeeded.
Yeah,
Like
exactly,
what really makes these happen is a much
Yeah.
larger audience, and they don't know that Kang is supposed to. I mean, Kang's been in a couple of movies, but they
Right.
haven't actually gotten to there yet. Like
Yep.
they can move on if they wanted to.
Yep,
I do
absolutely.
think that ironically, studios should say thank you once again to the writers and actors, because Marvel's biggest problem seemed to be, if there is such thing as superhero fatigue, it would be exactly that. There's just too much of it right now, and everybody like, we can't miss you if you don't go away.
Yeah, next year, I think by the end of next year, everybody's going to be missing Marvel quite a bit. because
Right.
What they're going to get is Deadpool 3, which may be fine, but then also Kraven, Madam Web, and Venom 3.
Oh,
and then
here
it's going to be
comes
like,
Sony to step in the
Dude,
gap.
have we talked about the Madam Web trailer on this podcast?
not yet.
No, we've not.
That is going to be a 1, 2, 3 of, oh shit, I forgot how bad superhero movies
Shit,
could be.
maybe that could be its own Patreon, the Madam Web trailer.
The Madam Web trailer, Jesus
No,
Christ. Yeah,
Randy,
yeah.
Holy
Madam
shit.
Web's going to be fine. I mean, it studied spiders in the Amazon with my mom before she died.
Man. No, there's a good Patreon in comparing which is worse, the Kraven trailer or the Madam Web trailer.
The Kraven trailer, because the Madam Web trailer has Sydney Sweeney as some kind of Spider Woman.
No,
That's
no.
fair. That's fair.
Like the Craven trailer at least
It's gonna be
seems coherent.
terrible.
Like I'm gonna have to push back on that.
No, the answer is the Kraven trailer. The Kraven trailer is worse.
Yeah.
But it is an argument to be had. So
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's not good for Sony. That's not good for anybody. but anyway, Loki, yes, really fun. Enjoyed the end of it. It's all a bit timey-wimey, big and nonsensical, but I still enjoyed all of it. Like despite the fact that I'm not sure it holds together as a story.
Oh, like we said, it heavily relies on feel.
Yeah.
Apparently, Obi is wearing Data's belt and contraption, like from Goonies, like
Okay,
that, his
that
whole
makes- yeah.
utility belt. Like he still had that
That-
prop, so he just brought it.
That's
What?
amazing.
That's fucking awesome.
Like the box that opens up with the grappling hook. Yeah.
I've been sick a little bit, and so I've been in comfort watch mode. So I watched all of season 4 of Parks and Rec, which is the election year season. I believe that's the second time I've watched it this year, and it's still great. And watching Parks and Rec, I started with season 3, which is its best season, and then watched season 3 and 4, and I'm like, man, Parks and Rec is all of it's good to some extent, except for season 1. But season 3 and 4 is like, this is the cream of the crop. It is the best
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Season 5 did some weird stuff where they separated out all the characters, and I still think that was a weird call. And I'd be curious to know exactly what behind the scenes caused that. Semi-related, this isn't TV Diaries, this is audiobook Diaries, but I started listening to, Spotify has all kinds of audiobooks if you've got their premium thing, which I do. So when I drive up to Dallas, I started listening to Mike Schur's book from last year called How to Be Perfect, the correct answer to every moral question. And it is a primer on the philosophy stuff that he studied doing The Good Place. The audiobook is read by Mike Schur with special guests, the entire cast of The Good Place doing like footnotes and various characters. And it is a treatise on moral philosophy, but it's also like Mike Schur making jokes. And if you like The Good Place, I highly recommend this audiobook. I'm 8 chapters in, and it is delightful. It is very funny. It's very smart.
That sounds like the rough draft for the good place, basically.
It's actually like more of a post-mortem.
Oh, okay.
It's like he's like I got interested in moral philosophy, and then that led to The Good Place, and then I did The Good Place, and that led me to wanting to write this thing about moral philosophy. So yeah, it's really interesting, really fun. If you're feeling that Good Place Jones, it's a good way to scratch that itch. I really enjoy it. Watched the last 2 last week tonight, which was the Puteki Teki Bird of the Year, or Bird of the Century.
We won,
which
baby!
was fantastic.
In a fucking landslide.
And then the Dollar General thing, which was horrifying and not surprising. And the Hamas and Israel thing, which, man, I got to give credit for even weighing in on that shit. And I thought the way he did it was excellent. It was really good. It was very harrowing, but it was very good. John Oliver continues to do this, just is the best at this. It's amazing. Saw the Marvels in the theater, which we'll talk about on Patreon, and watched 3 episodes of Monarch, which we'll talk about next week, and 2 episodes of Scott Pilgrim, which we'll talk about this week. And that is my TV Diaries.
Well, I'll pick it up. Lisa, I found out, has never watched 6 Feet Under, and so with the gap coming up and everything, she's decided to go tear through that show.
Okay.
And so every time I walk in the living room and the show is in a weird aspect ratio with black bars on the sides, I'm like, 6 feet under. And ironically, the episode that I just watched with her, Adam Scott is dating David for a moment.
Oh wow.
Huh. He's so young. It's like Paul Rudd. He's always looked like that, except his hair, and he's wearing glasses. Honestly, it's like he's in disguise.
That's weird. By the way, Adam Scott alert. He is, if you look on IMDb, he is in Madam Web.
Oh yeah, he's Ben Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I don't know what that means.
He's you can see him in the trailer.
Okay,
he's an EMT in the trailer or something. Never mind. I'm not going to get into what the whole actual plot is.
It's insane.
I think like the gist of it is,
him being in it is literally the least weird thing that's happened today.
I think they're trying to explain the lack of a Spider-Man in the Sonyverse by saying that the bad guy is trying to prevent Spider-Man from being born. I don't know, guys.
Sure.
So they're trying to kill Adam Scott before he fucking teaches him about responsibility. I don't know. Or is he the dad, or is he Richard Parker?
We could spend an entire podcast just talking about that trailer. God. Seriously. And what Sony is doing with the Spider-Man franchise. Like we could spend an entire podcast, but this is not that podcast. Sorry, Les. Diversion. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking so this week Lisa and I watched Across the Spider-Verse, which I saw in the theater, but first time I'd seen it at home.
Yeah.
God, that movie's just amazing. But also, that means technically there are 2 universes that didn't get a Spider-Man, because Spot pops his head into the Venomverse for just a moment. But then they also make the big deal about where Miles ends up at the end is he got the spider from it, so there was no Spider-Man there. So I wonder what happened to the Sonyverse. I guess Sony fucking lucked out. Like, animated Spider-Verse is about to solve their why don't we have a Spider-Man problem. Let's see. So I finished out Goosebumps, which I really enjoyed that season. It actually escalates insanely. It has You're the Worst. Is it Chris Greer? Is that his name? I believe.
The second lead.
Yeah. He actually ends up being the final big bad, which is wonderful. He looks psychotic. Absolutely fun finale and fun setup for whatever they're going to do next. Been watching a ton of Bob's Burgers because there's a ton of Bob's Burgers. Oh my God, I'm never going to run out of this show. It's wonderful.
Yep.
Plus a movie. Yeah. Love the puns, love the weirdness. Show's just absolutely fucking bananas.
Forgot how weirdly horny Tina is.
Oh my God, Tina's so horny. Tina's so horny.
And then everyone started to rub their butts together.
All of her fanfiction that she reads. That she reads at school. Yeah. Watched a PBS American Experience on the Gilded Age, not the TV show, but the era that the TV show purports to be about. It was really good, really disturbing because it's really familiar with the level of wealth gap between elites and regular. More than almost anything I studied in high school, I'm watching this going, shit, that's now. Fuck. It was really good. It's on PBS. It was on YouTube. It's made by PBS. It's served up on an Oliver platter, which is the best way to get all your history. Oliver Platt narrates it, and it's just great.
Hell yeah.
Also watched Fool's Paradise, which is Charlie Day's directorial debut. It has a bunch of his friends that he can get into a movie. It's cute. He plays a being there kind of Peter Sellers type mute character. Like they say at the start he's got like the mind of like a 7-year-old, and he basically just easily led. He'll ape whatever you're doing. He gets kicked out of a mental institution because they're like, oh yeah, with such and such programs and work and specialists and blah blah blah, might be able to make a breakthrough, but we don't have the money for that. The state doesn't have the money for that, so we're gonna put him on a bus ticket. We're gonna give him a bus ticket, and he ends up on a movie set where he looks exactly like their lead star, who is a complete like useless jackass and won't come out of his trailer. So they just put the mute guy in makeup, and it turns into this weird Bowfinger thing. But he'll just do, like, he doesn't speak. He'll just do whatever you're doing. So, like, Adrian Brody's in it, and, like, trying to get him to do a fight scene. When he doesn't fight back, he does what you're doing, is insane. he ends up like, he never tells anyone his name. So immediately the director walks past him, yells latte pronto, and then looks at him and goes, good job, kid. And the next person that walks up goes, Mr. Pronto. And from that point forward in the movie, his name is Latte Pronto. It doesn't quite come together at the end with whatever message it's supposed to get, but all in all, it's really cute. It's called Fool's Paradise. It's on Hulu. It's silly as fuck.
Latte Pronto is a fantastic name.
Oh man, it's great. And as it just goes further and further, Mr.
Dude, I think I found my next D&D character's name.
His co-star starts dating him because he's the hot shit now. Starts dating him and marries him and divorces. They adopt kids. She divorces him, all without him ever saying anything. It's like he's a mute guy that falls into the one industry where no one, the less you say, the better. Everybody will just talk for you. It's really fun. Also watched a show called The Windsors, I believe on Netflix. That is, I don't know if it's actually made by the BBC, but it's a British half-hour sitcom, satire, just complete piss take on the royals. So Harry is a complete frat boy idiot, but when they finally meet Meghan Markle from Suits, it's like character actor Margot Martindale. They say it every single time. Camilla and Charles trying to have a new baby because there's or she's either trying to have a new baby or trying to make sure that they get crowned, that there's none of this skip a generation nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Then in one episode they find Charles has a twin.
Oh fuck yeah! Tell him about the twin brother, Les.
Yeah, like Arrested Development style. Charles has a twin that's been in the attic for 60 years. He is he knows nothing of the ways of the world, but he's a super empath.
Well, how was he? Was he locked in there, Les?
No. So Wills comes into the attic one day because they just thought it was squirrels or rats, and he goes in there, and it turns out he's been pushing on the door for 60 years. It's a pull door, and Wills just shows it to him, and they have a moment of fuck. Fuck. And but he's the opposite of Charles. Charles has no human emotions and does not understand them. And he is a super empath. So literally it's like he's psychic. Everybody in a room, he knows all their innermost thoughts and what they want, but he doesn't understand it. But yeah, he ends up escaping for a little while and almost taking over the Camilla tries to get Charles killed. It's an absolutely nuts sitcom. When we first hit play on it, honestly, I thought we were about to watch a cheap version of The Crown. This is the BBC's it's a shame that this came out the same year as a much higher production budget show. And then it started up and I was like, nope. It very quickly went from oh God, their cheap version of The Crown looks like Knots Landing. Oh no. How long is this episode? 23 minutes. Oh yeah. This is about to get mean. It's great. It's the kind of satire that I don't like when it's our leaders, because God damn it, those people are actually in charge of shit. But Britain has the royals who do nothing.
That's their main function, as far as I can tell.
You can just take.
Honestly, it makes me think. Hey, if we were to allow instead of having Trump be president, if we were to offer him king and just let him do nothing, I would have gone along with it.
Everybody shut up.
Everyone shut up. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Trump, you are indeed, I'm sorry, Sir Trump.
King.
Let's see.
Yes.
In one episode, Kate Middleton gets Ebola, and so she can't go to some ribbon cutting for a thing. And so to cure her of Ebola, they miniaturize Tony Blair and put him in a little submarine and put him in her bloodstream to go kill all the Ebolas. And then she'll harmlessly pass him out of her system in a couple of days. Unfortunately, there is no, and they just say this casually, there is no embiggening process. He will always be that size. And everyone in the room just shrugs and moves on. It's just not a problem.
Oh, that's amazing.
Dude, they just stole from my Fantastic Four script where they go inside Dr. Doom's body. Fan-4-stick voyage.
Yes. It's very fun. The Windsors. Nick and I did not talk about it last week, but I'll leave it to you. And we watched Slaughterhouse. I'll leave it to Nick to talk about that. I watched A Futile and Stupid Gesture, the Doug Kenny National Lampoon biopic from Netflix, which I'd seen before. It's hilarious and really sad because he definitely killed himself. Or as Harold Ramis put it, there's no way he fell. I'll believe he fell while looking for a place to jump.
Yeah.
But
Rather than hiking. Sorry, he went
there's
hiking.
no way Doug was. No. Also watched a couple more episodes of The Rookie. God, season 4 is a slog. It really is. It's a hard tour.
Y'all, we haven't talked about this. They announced the final season of Blue Bloods.
Oh, did they?
Wow.
They did. Wow, did I know that? You didn't? I'm shocked.
Oh, I don't know. Facebook has stopped showing me Blue Bloods.
Why does it feel somehow right that when we said defund the police, that's what happened?
That they defunded Blue Bloods?
That the strike killed Blue Bloods and they went there.
That's it.
There,
Yeah.
there you go.
It's close as we're going to get.
Right.
Sorry, Tom Selleck, you're going to have to find your money for your mustache wax elsewhere.
Watched a Taraji P. Henson and Tracy Morgan movie, What Men Want, which is kind of a weird spiritual sequel to the Mel Gibson What Women Want.
Which is weird in many ways, but one is that it is not hard to know what men want. Like that is not, you don't need telepathy for that.
Not at all. It is, like she uses it directly to like win at cards and crap, because otherwise, like, yeah, it's just a baseline. Like you know the baseline here. If anything, it's not nearly enough of that. Like there should just be a constant barrage of like, ew. It's cute it's much cuter than I thought it was going to be for the first act. And in the second act, it's like, okay, this is not really going anywhere. What are we doing here? And in the third act, it tries to have her learn some kind of lesson and make some kind of statement about it. And it does not work. It makes no sense. Like the credits were rolling and Lisa and I looked at each other and was like, what the fuck is the lesson here? Like you can definitely cheat and psychically read everybody around you's minds and walk away with a total win as long as it got icky for you at the end. And like, it kind of seems that way. She basically gets like everything works out. The power was spectacular. One thing they don't explore that I think would have been hilarious. The first real client, she's a sports agent. So she's in a man's world, Randy.
Oh, I see.
And the first big client we see her with is a WNBA star.
Oh, I see.
And you're saying this movie was made before the writer's strike?
Yeah. This is not AI. This is not AI written.
Oh,
as I understand it. Or if it was, it was before Carol destroyed that AI. Yes, I think it would have been funny if she's a psychic super agent who knows exactly when you want anything. If you're a dude client, and she's just a regular, pretty good agent to all of her women clients because she just can't read their minds. And this movie was made a few years ago. There's no way they're going to touch this, but any movie with that setup absolutely walks into a minefield with trans issues.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, either magic is a turf or you have a litmus test here that you can't get into.
Man. Oh, I hadn't even considered that.
Oh boy.
Of just like one dude in her office that she can't hear and is like, Tim, go talk to someone. Yeah. So obviously they don't get into any of that. It was an odd watch. Everybody involved in it's better than this, and should forget that this is on their resume. Also watched some Scott Pilgrim. I watched Pet Sematari's Bloodlines, which was actually more fun than I expected it to be. I would normally say you should absolutely not do a prequel that serves only to explain how the magic of Pet Sematary works.
Yeah.
That's bad. Like,
does not sound like a good idea.
No, I don't.
And that's the premise they went in hiring people to do.
But we know how it works. You bury something there, it comes back. Explanation.
Yes, not as good. Yeah, not as good. So they so what they do instead, they don't explain how exactly the magic, like they don't explain how the magic works exactly. Like you bury something there, there's something evil in the ground that brings things back bad.
Well, some would say different.
Right. And like basically they just explain like, okay, there's some kind of he who walks behind the rose, fucking Stephen King type evil it would love to control all of the living people, but that's difficult. So corpses are super easy. Don't bury anything back there. It can run them like a machine. And that's fine. What they do with it instead is explain why in the living fuck anyone would live near it. And basically it's the town it's Fear Street, like it's the town founder's fault. Like when they do like a flashback, it's just a whole bunch of Native Americans that are like, so your boy fucked this up, okay? Like, we know what's here. We don't mess with it. We move when it gets too close or too like there's just spots in America you don't live near. Your guy went straight to the middle of it and dicked around, and now it's awake. So deal with your boy. And so they basically like found a town, name it after their friend that they have to kill, and their families stay there. So like there's a bit of a like, well, I'm gonna get out of this town. I don't know why my dad never left. I'm like, well, you're gonna learn in a couple of years, kid. Because it also kind of runs with the idea that I don't care how many times you tell somebody what's gonna happen there. If you don't see it happen personally, and it only happens every couple generations, man, somebody's gonna bury something back there. Like I can kind of see how like every couple generations somebody's like, God damn it, man. Did you see so-and-so's kid? Yeah. That kid's dead, right? So yeah, man, I really enjoyed Pet Sematary Bloodlines. I do wish literally anybody had a Maine accent. That'd have been fun. Somewhere in the movie at all. But overall, David Duchovny lays it on double thick, and it's real fun. All kind of set Nam era. Henry Thomas. It's got a kid, I swear to God, I thought he was Lucas from Goosebumps. And it's not. He's apparently Katie Seagal's or Peggy Bundy's kid, who is also an actor. Yeah. Huh. And then, of course, saw The Marvels, which was, we'll talk about it in podcast or on Patreon. Nick, I know we watched Slaughterhouse. What else you watch?
Oh, you want to save Slaughterhouse for the end? Sure. That'll be an interesting musical transition, at least. I think there's a fucking Slaughterhouse song at the end.
There is.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I'm using that. I finished off Get Gotti from last week, which was like the spin-off, like kind of spin-off of Fear City. And, you know, it's a documentary on basically the legal processes and wiretapping, basically how they got John Gotti. And wow, they fucking, I don't know, like the DA, the second investigation, the one that actually started to go somewhere, the DA of the time, this woman, they fucking railroad her, and they get her on to like talk about it. And honestly, I thought like, oh, well, all these fucking dude bro cops or whatever like hate this woman because she failed to get Gotti or whatever. Then they proceed to explain how the trial went and how badly she botched it. And I was like, oh, yeah, you suck. Like,
I kind of only saw a little bit of this in the middle when you were catching me up on like how the trial had actually gone while I'm watching like this woman be interviewed. And you could just hear the like, well, we don't really know what happened. You know, could have gone that way for anybody. And Nick's over here going, nope, it couldn't have. Nope, you fucked that up.
Because she outs an informant in court.
Oh, Jesus.
Which, you know, and then I'm like, oh, so that's why the cops don't like you. Because then the cops go like, yeah, the main thing when we tell informants is that we will not fucking reveal your identity. Kind of the main reason they sign up is that they think no one's going to know. So when someone fucks you in open court like that, kind of makes it hard. Like, it was basically like they had a hard time getting any more informants that, like, for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, outs him, and the dude is sitting next to John Gotti. Sitting next to him on the fucking stand. In the indictment.
That dude.
Hey, we want to call that guy.
Wow.
And so later in the show, we're like, oh yeah, so that guy, we found him dead later. And
weird.
And they
interviewed
and they were all like, yeah, we all kind of saw that coming. I mean, and then the district attorney, the woman at the time, was like, well, you have to understand, he was a violent man himself, and he met a violent end, and I don't take any responsibility for his death. And I'm like, I mean, I don't care what he really did. I mean, I'm sure he was a bad dude. He was with the mob or whatever. But you're directly responsible for his death. You can't shake that off.
Like, whatever. Like, you were going to take his testimony and give him a lighter sentence, but now you're cool with death penalty
Yeah.
for whatever he used to do.
I think that was it. They never get into it because they don't really get into why she did such a bad job in the trial, even though it didn't really matter. He bribed the jury anyway. He bribed a jury member, actually. He
Tell him how he found this was so much work, how he found the jurors.
So you're asking yourself, how would he find the jurors? And so the district attorney had them driven to their homes at the end of the trial every day in limousines from the courthouse.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Look, I'm not saying that it couldn't be, that it would be impossible if they drove them in a minivan or an SUV or some other thing. But I'm saying that I would at least have a hard time tracking them down. If they're driving home in limos,
could have made them work for it.
I could find them.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing it on purpose at that point.
I looked at Nick, I'm like, I realize New York City's a big city, and there's definitely going to be more than one limo rental service. But I bet there's not more than 6. And I bet half of them at least are connected to the dudes you're prosecuting.
Right? Yeah. Like there's limousines that are shell companies for the mob.
Yeah. Yeah. The driver probably turned around and offered them money on the way home.
Right. Like, wait, you're telling me Bill's driving her? Really? We'll call him up.
One of her other witnesses says that, hey, that limousine thing you're doing, that's dumb. They're going to go and they're going to find them and bribe a juror. And she's like, and she tells him, they have him on here, and he said, and I remember this word for word because I rubbed it in her face later. That she said to me, you're watching too many mafia movies.
Oh man.
Let it be known, the witness is a mob enforcer.
She's talking to a dude who's in the mob, and she's like, I think you watch too many. We're like, no. I go to my job, and I'm telling you how my workplace functions.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they'd pay me to do that thing. If I wasn't informing for you, I'd be following those cars.
I would be the guy looking for, and I'd be like, oh, thank God they're limos. Oh my God. I do think that the people who made this documentary should do another documentary about the kidnapping of John Paul Getty III, which they made a couple of movies about, just so they can call it Got Getty. It'd be confusing as fuck on Netflix, and I'd love it.
That is M. Forgan level planning there, Les, and I like it.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes. Oh, I did watch the next thing with you that's on your list. I did not put it on mine, but I should have. It's great.
Oh, I watched So Dumb It's Criminal, hosted by none other than Snoop Dogg. Where basically Snoop Dogg and a bunch of other guests watch a bunch of basically viral clips. Some of them are quite old, but new for the show. And watch a bunch of dumb people be criminals, and they sometimes have guests on and stuff like that via video call. They get on some of the people, the subjects of the video. So it's pretty fun. Ron Funches is a guest twice. Hilarious. Actually gets overtalked by like the guests. Sometimes like the guests they need to bring on. I think it only has the one season. I don't think it got brought back.
Yeah. No. Yeah, Jay Farrow's on I think on a couple. Yeah, it's weird. It's not always the comedians that you think would be great on it that click with it, but it's kind of got somewhere between ridiculousness, but just for criminals, and kind of a Tosh.0 redemption when they bring them on to talk about like, okay, man, so what were you thinking in court here on this video?
Well, they get somebody like because they do lawyer commercials because they love them, and they get a guy from Texas, this fucking coked up,
yeah. I can't remember his name, but he's great. He's from San Antonio.
His catchphrase is "I am a lawyer."
Yes, he yells it a lot. I think if you have to yell "you're a lawyer" a lot, there's something going on. He's got a mohawk, and he straight up admits that like most of his clients are like his friends and previous I don't know, co-conspirators, basically.
Yeah.
He oh man, when we looked him up after the show, he had gotten into some bullshit in Travis County. And like a bunch of other lawyers in San Antonio and Travis County were like, look, man, we don't exactly like him either, but y'all are, this is wrong.
But you're all actually violating his civil rights.
Yeah, he obviously had several charges of contempt of court.
No.
Only they realized that if they never actually issued the summons for it, like if they never actually brought him in on it, it was just hanging out there over him. And so he wouldn't come into Travis County. But if they brought him in, he was almost certainly either just going to pay it or beat it or do the tire, like whatever. But then,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know, it'd be over. He'd deal with it. And so, like, he had to, I think he made it to Georgetown and got somebody to file a brief back of like, this is wrong. Like, they are denying me due process so that they can just hamstring me and keep me out of courts. And like a bunch of other trial lawyers were like, so he definitely earned the contempt charges. Also, this is wrong. You can't do this.
Right.
So a little insight into Austin here. Y'all, as you talk about Travis County, y'all seen the billboards of the guy? It's like the attorney that rocks. So he's got,
yeah.
he's on buses and stuff too.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
There is another attorney. That guy's like, he's got dreads and he basically is like I'm the cool attorney, I'm the cool dad. There's another billboard where he used to have his that has a guy in a suit, and his tagline is the attorney that works. And I feel like that has gotta be like subtweeting at this guy.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you what, they bring him in for a video conference to judge based off of another video they do, and by the end of it, he convinced me. I'm like, dude, I think I'm gonna hire that guy if I
would
get out
hire
of a
this
DUI.
dude. I'm serious. If you do something drunk blackout that's really dumb and you're watching it for the first time on video with the cops, this is your lawyer, man.
This is your guy.
Yeah.
He's watching a drunk drive, like a guy gets pulled over for drunk driving on a riding lawnmower on the highway.
Oh man, yeah, that's the one that won me over.
And then, without missing a beat, the guy's like, "So what would be your defense here?" Like, well, there's nothing illegal going on here. This is just unauthorized maintenance. In fact, the county actually probably owes him money on the fee.
We'll forgo that,
but we
bill.
will forgo that charge. Like he's already meeting in the middle. I'm like, oh man, this guy's good.
Yeah, it was great.
It's definitely worth at least a watch.
Also, I don't know if anybody else saw in the news last week. It made a bunch of news that Snoop Dogg made an announcement that after consulting with his family and the fact that he's older than you'd think, that he's giving up smoke.
Oh wow!
And it's Snoop Dogg. It made the news. Like it.
Sure.
They're like real news covered it. So this week he revealed that it's a partnership with a smokeless fire pit company.
Oh wow!
Snoop Dogg trolled the world for a week.
Yep.
Of like
love it.
And I just sat back the entire time because I remember at one point in like the early aughts, he announced that he wasn't gonna smoke weed anymore, and everybody was like, "Holy fuck!" And I went and saw him live like a month after that announcement, and on stage he pulled a J out and was like, "Yo, may I heard I quit smoking? I did when that last joint went out, and then I started again right now."
Oh,
and,
right, and he smokes during the show. Les, remember when we saw
and like literally this announcement, I'm thinking Nick and I just watched a show shot this past year where they're having to blur out like his like half his hand because he's got a J the whole show. We're like, why is it blurry whenever he moves his hand around? Like, oh my god, they're blurring out a blunt.
They're blurring out a blunt because it's not a tattoo because it keeps moving. It's different parts. Like,
and it's perpendicular to his fucking hand.
Yeah, it's so obviously a blunt, and that means there was an argument on set in production with a bunch of like a producer and some like scripts and whatever and runners and stuff.
We can't show it, Snoop. Like, we can't show your hand at all if you're holding it. I don't care.
So what's the least amount of work here? Going in and actually fussing this out for every episode on every moment that Snoop Dogg is on screen, or trying to convince Snoop to not smoke during the
to
hour
just take
we
breaks
shoot,
and
we
go
shoot
smoke
this,
instead.
Hour we shoot the smoke, and the production obviously lost that battle with Snoop Dogg.
Yes, yes,
and was like,
you see the argument lost in front of you. Yeah. But Snoop, what if we just take 15-minute breaks every 5 minutes? No,
I'm not. You will pry this blunt from my cold, dead hands.
Right.
Or my live ones if I'm high enough. But that means more blunts. I can only imagine that the other guests, as the show goes on, maybe they're getting more into it, like Ron Funches, because I'm like, oh, he's getting a contact high.
Right.
I can only imagine what Snoop is smoking is just way stronger than
I have to assume, yeah,
what a regular human might imbibe.
Yeah, I've got to think it's like some 2 Chainz weed.
We watched, I watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, specifically for my audiobook work this week. Unlike Randy, I was not listening. I was trying to have to make one. And the assignment, the rights holder wanted a Finnish accent. And I was like, well, I don't really know what Finns sound like versus other, like Northern European. So I went in and I watched a Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I remember the two people in that, and they're
Anders, yeah.
and they're Swedish, and I'm like, close enough.
Oh, shit. We have watched a Finnish movie recently, Sisu.
Did we mention that when we watched it? No, I think we mentioned it when we watched it.
I think you did.
Yeah. Crazy old man.
Yeah, it's really
fighting
good.
His way through. Yep. Hardly anybody talks, but they're Finnish.
Yeah, they're Finnish. I most of that would be like I would study a German accent more starting in that one because only the villains really talk during it. Sisu doesn't.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, the one Finnish guy doesn't talk. The Nazis talk.
So now I can talk like the guy that is concerned about his partner's pH level when she can't ingest disgusting street food outside the station.
You sound like Skip Tracer Randy.
Skip Tracer Randy is also, but it's more. That's more German. You hear it in the difference in the nasal
season
cavity,
Randy,
right?
season 4 of the Rookie has sucked, but it did introduce Flula Borg.
Is Skip Tracer Randy
as a skip tracer, and he always introduced. At one point in one episode, he becomes an actual bounty hunter.
Bounty Hunter Randy.
Obviously, Bounty Hunter Randy.
I'm looking for good fictional analogs to my name, and Flula Borg is a bounty hunter. That's pretty solid. I'm okay with that.
It's great. He's insane.
I thought maybe this was something y'all talked about in last week's episode that I'm missing. I'm like,
no,
what is going on?
What?
I missed a week and became a character, so I'm somewhat relieved it's a Flula Borg bit.
Mm-hmm.
Podcaster Randy. Let's see, I watched the first episode of Rick and Morty.
But how?
Adult Swim allows you to watch the first 3 on their app.
Okay. Wait, are the early episodes not on Hulu?
No,
not the early episodes. The new season. Right?
What the fuck, man?
Well, you notice we haven't been talking about it not because we don't want to watch Rick and Morty, because it's just not.
Oh, you mean the first episode of the new season? I thought you meant you went back and watched the first episode.
No, the new
those
season.
Are on
new season.
Hulu or Netflix or somewhere.
Okay, new season. Yeah. Okay.
Max or some shit.
Okay. Yeah.
Which again is still bullshit.
But we kept seeing things of like that new Rick and Morty episode. And like Nick looked over at me, was like,
"Yeah,
are those out?" I'm like, I mean, are they?
They're sort of.
If you have cable, it's funny. Like you can have the cutting edge of animation if you are your grandparents.
Yeah, that is so weird.
But the first episode back is strong.
Okay.
Mr. Boopy Butthole has a midlife crisis or whatever. Like lost his job, lost his wife, and has been staying in the apartment. And I love that Beth basically kind of confronts him about it. And it's like, it's just been hard ever since. I think it really started when a trusted family member shot me in the stomach. I just, like I already apologized for that. Okay. It was hard for me too. Yeah, I know. It really tore you up inside like a bullet through the intestines. It really tore you up.
Are these the first episodes without Roiland?
Yeah. Hard to tell. Mr. Poopy Butthole, like a lot of the characters are voiced by him, and I'm like, what I realize is that I don't think Justin Roiland has a lot of range and isn't a terribly good voice actor because he's immediately impressionable.
Well, and half of America learned how to do his one voice.
Right.
There's a lot of problems with Justin Roiland, and him being a not a great voice actor is really, really small, really low on the
honestly,
right?
it's what he like, I want to be a bunch of the characters so they can't get rid of me. And I'm like, honestly, you're not talented enough for that to even matter. Which
right.
Which, and all the writing is basically, I still feel like is there as far as the, nihilism and meanness and cleverness. They bring Mr. Poopy Butthole out to as a mini intervention with Bird Person and Gearhead and a couple other of the regulars, and he reveals later like, I'm just glad y'all remembered my birthday, and now no one can bring up the intervention like, all right, I guess we're partying with him in his birthday. And then they find Hugh Jackman in a underground bee club that showers, instead of blood showering like Blade, it showers honey. And they start to party with Hugh Jackman, which apparently is ill-advised. Hugh Jackman goes hard. He just hands them a bag of purple pills. It's like, what are they? Like, I'll tell you what, I only party with people that have low impulse control. So it already tells me that, like, you asking what this is already telling me you're not cool enough to party with me. And what was it? Mr. Poopy Butthole had hired a predator to stalk his wife because he's got a restraining order. And he's like, "Oh my god, how like you hired a predator?" Like, "Oh yeah, well they're actually pretty cheap because they're in there for the thrill of the hunt. And also if they stay cloaked, you don't have to pay for licensing." Which leads to a Hugh Jackman versus Predator fight later.
But of course, the Predator never uncloaks because they don't want to pay licensing.
No, they
right?
do, which I was surprised by.
Oh shit!
He uncloaks at the very end because it turns out he's sleeping with Mrs. Poopy Butthole. This is not what I hired you for. Ooh,
man, Rick and Morty is weird when you describe it.
Isn't
it's
it?
very weird when you describe it. Yeah,
They're
it's
all
like
swords, Randy.
Did the Stranger Than Fan Fiction segment come back?
Right.
Like, yeah, this is somehow weirder than Magiswords.
Sure. Except you're gonna want to watch this.
Maybe.
Bird Person has found their kid just off, like, she was in a femme fatale training school. She's like half Tammy, so she's kind of a bitch. I can say that I'm a parent. What was it? One of the guys knows Hugh Jackman, the guy in the Fisher hat. I forget what his name is, but he's like, I don't know if partying with Hugh Jackman is such a good idea.
What's the Jack Shack?
It's just his house. But guys, I don't think we should go there.
I challenge you to explain why not without making us want to go more.
Well, Hugh's pretty anti-limitation. When he parties, it gets extreme.
Challenge failed.
And then me and Les watched Slaughterhouse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Slaughterhouse is fucking awesome.
Slaughterhouse is a pretty great Gravitas. What's it called?
Was it Gravitas Ventures?
Gravitas Ventures, I think.
I don't know.
Which is
Just
normally
not a
a pretty
great-
bad sign.
What a fantastic name for your sloth powder horror movie.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Slaughterhouse is, of course, Slaughterhouse takes place at a sorority. Randy.
Of course it does. Of course.
Right.
During Rush.
During Rush. Do you get it?
Because it's about a killer sloth.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
get it?
That's great.
Randy, you're not
The other
laughing.
rush means
I get
fast,
it.
Randy.
Yep. Yeah, I get it.
It's got two meanings.
Les, I don't think we're
Really?
explaining it right.
Yep.
So Randy,
think
you
I'm
see
explaining it
there's a
right.
sloth.
But there's a sloth. You
No,
see
no, I
in a
saw
sorority rush.
I saw Zootopia where the sloth was named Flash. I get it. I'm with you.
So yeah, it's a anti-poaching message movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Sloth gets
Okay.
The sloth gets kidnapped from its home base. Starts
by
to
this
develop
poacher, and then
it kills its poacher as near the the sorority house. Gets picked up by the new
well, it's a sorority sister who's becoming a senior, and she wants to be house president. So
Yes.
she's about to run against the dynasty house president for several years, and she uses the sloth as her social media new shiny object.
Mm-hmm.
Only the sloth turns into a super fucking mean girl. So all the kills the sloth is posting to its own social media at Killer Sloth, #sloth.
Yeah. And killing most of the new pledges. They're all like wondering, like, where did Stacy go? I don't know.
Yeah. In terms of a movie making sense, it does not. It also doesn't matter. It's a slaughterhouse. This was so much more fun than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I knew it would be dumb. I did not know it would be like wonderfully self-referential.
They honestly get more clever with it. Like with every new person comes up with their social media status, and that's how you give. Like instead of Suicide Squad style openings, it's like their Instagram or their social media of like what their deal is, like a instant breakdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, I greatly enjoyed that. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Especially for every once in a while, the sloth will slowly kill a person.
It's great. Like they're just screaming in like this very slow
the claws coming down. it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It would double features well with Killer Sofa, I would say, or Slacks, or yeah.
Oh, you haven't even watched. Like, man, we gotta.
I haven't watched Slacks.
We gotta get you to watch Slacks. That's where their killer jeans.
Killer pants. Yeah, killer jeans.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Man, Randy's really with us this week.
I'm horrified, but I'm with you. All right. Just a reminder, you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes and throw us a buck an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with our streaming service, pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, we are going to talk about the Marvels, the last Marvel movie until 2025.
Honestly, with its box office opening, I thought you were about. I have not read the news today, and I thought you were about to say ever.
No, they're definitely going to do more.
Like, that's it. With the strike, Feige's out. We're just done.
Definitely going to do more.
Is there TV shows that are going to be out, or?
I think there's one. There's Echo.
Echo,
but like
wow.
Echo and What If premieres in
I'm excited about
time,
What
so
If.
like,
I'm not excited
me too.
about Echo.
I'm curious, but not excited. We'll see where it goes. All right, let's do our main course. Let's talk about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which is the anime version of Scott Pilgrim. And let's start by talking about the weirdest shit ad campaign they did for this show.
I don't think I saw any of the ads for it. I just knew it was coming.
So the thing they did with the ads is they did a teaser that showed entirely moments from the movie and the voice cast, to the extent that I was like, did they get these actors back, or did they just take the audio and animate it? Like, I seriously thought that might be what they were doing.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, there's no way they can make a whole.
But they can't make
8
episodes out of that.
But at and then I was like, okay, but that's weird. But like, and then they did interviews where they said they were going to do some different stuff and that kind of thing. And then the scene they released was the scene of Scott getting his Netflix DVD, not his thing delivered from Amazon.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, aside from being Netflix instead of Amazon, it was almost the same scene.
It's identical. Yeah.
And I was like, why are you guys making this if you're going to do the same thing, basically? And then I watched it, and I'm like, you did not make the same thing at all.
Yeah.
No.
Who did it benefit to pretend that you were? I don't understand the marketing of this thing, because it almost put me off watching it. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to watch this. I like the graphic novels. I like the movie. I don't need another third version.
Well, honestly, that when the twist comes in, it actually made me want to watch it more, because I was like,
same.
It's a good twist. I just don't know that you needed to hide it that much.
I never saw it hidden, so
because they were changing some things. Like, they were changing. They were basically changing how Scott comes off, and I'm like,
yes,
Scott's not coming off as enough of a dick, actually, for the story of
Scott's kind of a fucking dick in the movie.
Well, I mean, he's a dick in the movie, he's a dick in the original comic, and he's not. It's not like he's great here, but.
Yeah,
they change it to where he's not dating Knives. Knives thinks they're dating, and he doesn't correct her. And I'm like, that's kind of the same thing, but also like,
Well, Nick, you didn't get to finish it out, right?
I got to episode 3.
Okay,
I got episode
4.
He fully looks at Knives and straight up apologizes for leading her on at all, and that even when their relationship was together, it was wrong because being 23 and her being 17 is icky.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, flat out apologizes to her, which is great.
I didn't realize that Young Neil was 20, because I was like, wait a minute, I thought Young Neil and Knives were together, but he's 20. That's still fun.
Yeah. No, it's the same with. Oh, we didn't talk about Invincible. I think you watched the second episode, right?
I got about halfway through and fell asleep.
Because Duplicate. Immortal hooking up with Duplicate, I was like, wait a minute, let me do the math on this, because again, you've done everything too fast. These characters aren't out of high school yet. So like,
he's 7,000 years old or some shit.
Yeah,
or
at that point, I guess the age gap doesn't matter anymore. Also,
Sure.
Immortal does not seem to have what you call a great moral compass.
Well, I'm like, okay, Duplicate fucked Rex, and Rex fucked Eve, and Eve is still.
Yep.
I know Eve is in high school.
Yeah.
Someone committed a crime. Who did it?
Yes. Yes.
Someone did something they weren't supposed to do here. I'm not.
Let's be honest. It was probably
Rex. Now that now that we're working it out loud, yeah.
He's voiced by Jason Mantzoukas. He is the douchebag character. It was probably.
But
Rex.
also, they're called the teen. They were just called the teen team. And again, it's my problem with everything Invincible. When you do everything too fast. This is why it's important to have Invincible and them be in college before the Guardians get killed.
maybe Duplicate was 19.
Okay.
She's technically a teen.
Anytime you got to put technically, that's still not great, is it? Like,
it's not great. It is not
whoa,
great.
Whoa. Now, technically, I'm in the clear. Like, I don't know about this guy.
He's like, Immortal's like, in Mesopotamia, the age of consent was 7. Jesus, dude, you are not helping your cause at all.
So what you're saying to me is you've definitely fucked. You know what? I'm not going to think about your character anymore, Immortal. I'm not going to think about.
She's twice as old. I mean, she's a hag in my civilization. Why, she would be married. She would be on her deathbed after giving birth to 7 of my children. Okay, you need to stop talking right now.
Also, weren't you Abe Lincoln? Is in this universe? Is Abe Lincoln a child predator?
Look, we didn't use those terms back in my day. We just
Mortal. I hate talking to you.
Like a wolf.
This is why we don't chit chat, man.
You know what's funny? All this is better than anything Invincible's done this season. I'm already off it again. Like, I don't know how this show loses me so quick.
Oh man, I don't care. I mean, I'll tell you what. It's one of like Alan. I love Alan. Oh, Alan got beaten to the hospital. Like everything I love in this show.
Yep. Yeah.
Or everything I don't love. In fact, there's not a lot of Invincible that doesn't get beaten into a hospital.
Yeah. But back to Scott Pilgrim.
Right.
The big twist at the end of episode 1, which we're going to spoil here, is that Scott gets killed immediately.
Right.
Matthew Patel wins the first fight, and they're all surprised. Like they'd all read the script, and they all
Patel's surprised. Everybody.
Yeah, everyone's kind of like,
yeah.
I love the inherent feeling like they all kind of know that wasn't supposed to happen.
It's wrong. Yeah.
They don't know why, but like,
Yeah. Did they bury the coins?
Yeah. In episode 2, Matthew Patel challenges Gideon for the leadership of the Evil X's,
and the company and everything, all of it,
and he wins that fight too. And I'm like, oh, so this is like what if Scott Pilgrim?
Mm-hmm.
This is a what if, and that should win me over. But I've discovered in watching these 2 episodes that everything I found charming about Scott Pilgrim in the graphic novel and in the movie, it's grating on me now. I don't know if I've aged or if it's because it's the anime format.
I think it's
or something, or if it's just too much of it. But I'm like, it's not charming me anymore. I'm like, this is fine, but I don't care if I see the rest of it.
Well, there is the anime levelness of but this was in the original comic that it's aping, so it's not like it doesn't have a precedent. But it but it follows its own rules. Like Ramona has a fight with Roxy in the middle of a video store, and they start to fight like they get knocked into movies because they get knocked into movie shelves. There's just a whole logic to each fight that you have to just kind of go along with and go with the flow on. And one of the things I do like is that making Ramona now the main character, more or less, you get to really go through her exes and have her confront
this
them.
fixes the main issue with rewatching Scott Pilgrim for me. I didn't read the original comic, but in the movie, as cute as it is and as fun as it is, like the whole premise is kind of gross. Like her ex, like and Scott is kind of gross. Wallace is kind of gross. Like it makes them flawed, fun characters, but also there's a 90s-ness to it I have to ignore to get through it. And
I get that.
And what they do here by having him, like, he's not dead. Spoilers, like Ramona can still feel his Ramona, and I liked how they do it where she can still feel his the subsonic subspace highway. So he can't be dead. But by taking him out of the equation, she has to go and fight because it's a big exciting anime show. But mostly, like, as the fights continue with her exes, it really becomes more about just dealing with them, which she's not done. And then her slowly realizing, oh shit, I've got 7 people who I broke their heart. Like, and she starts feeling like, oh, that means that I hit a point where they really fell for me and I ran each time. That's how they're that angry. And like, And seeing her grow through that was like, oh shit, this lets Scott still kind of be a dipshit. Like you don't have to like fix Scott, but it lets the show be different for me. Also, the further you what's actually going on and what all is happening has to do with like the movie we saw and the way things went, and trying to change things now. And then they get a second meta thing going where young Neil's written a script about Scott's life. And it's the movie.
It's the movie.
And so they've got Envy and Lucas playing Ramona and Scott in a movie version of, which is the movie we saw, and it's directed by Edgar Wright.
There's a Simon Pegg. Do you see the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost cameos?
Yeah, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are the guards.
On set. Yeah. I really like that.
And that's really cute. And then of course, spoilers for anybody who's still watching it, but what's really going on is Scott from the future beat all the exes like we saw in the movie, ends up with Ramona. It doesn't work out because Ramona hasn't grown as we're going to see her grow, and Scott really hasn't grown. And so it doesn't work out long term. So Scott in the future pulls Scott from the past and tries to get him to lose the fight. And and get it, but it doesn't matter. He still ends up with Ramona. And so even older Scott reaches into it. Like it gets absolutely clusterfucked.
So I think that might be where
him to grow.
Yeah, that might be where there's some pushback from fans, I think, if there is, like, or where your pushback might be, Randy, is that the premise of this show basically says that the movie doesn't have a happy ending. If you think the movie was about everyone going home and being fixed after that, then you're wrong.
Right.
And
it's like Scott and Ramona, neither one of them could be, they aren't healthy relationship people.
So basically the premise of this movie is that there's something, premise with this show is that there's something wrong with the movie that does need to be fixed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what? I don't disagree with that. I love the movie, but it is problematic as hell.
Yeah, where that clicked for me made sense, but I could also see fans being like, there was nothing wrong with the movie.
Right.
Why are you treating it like there was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I can absolutely see that. And I don't think I saw the marketing for it. I didn't realize that I don't know why they would do that. Like why you would try to hide that, because to me, the idea of simply watching the movie done anime would not be enough.
No, why would you want that?
That's not enough reason to spend the money to do that.
The thing they did do also isn't quite clicking with me, and I don't know why. But as you talk about it, I'm like, man, I do want to see those scenes. I think it is the anime of it all. I think I'm just a hard sell on anime in general, and I know that's built into the graphic novels. But the graphic novels, I have an easier time with manga than I do with anime. I've read a bunch of manga, and so the manga, the anime tropes and the manga tropes, and it's sort of making fun of them. It's all meta stuff, and it worked a little bit better for me in graphic novel format, and it doesn't work as well for me in anime format. But I'm gonna maybe give it another couple of episodes because everything you say, like that's all stuff I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty, not even just like cute, but interesting in the fact that what they do in the having Lucas play Scott in the movie and having it be a like him facing himself.
Having Lucas get fired and them hire Todd.
And yeah, it just kind of makes those characters, those one-note characters from the movie, and like, oh, those are actually kind of suddenly they have a little bit more time to breathe and more interesting. I'm actually interested to see what they do with Envy going forward. I haven't seen much of her, but what I did see was that she came to Scott's fucking funeral where they have coins in the casket. Hilarious. And what is the song that she sings last? Like,
oh god damn it, I can't remember now.
It's like a meme, like a meme song. If you want to like pretend something sad in a funny way, like, but it just starts it up, and I'm like, perfect, no notes, fantastic.
Oh, she sings "I Will Remember You."
Yes,
that's
like
right.
She
sings
the. Yeah,
and then she does a remix
the fucking
of it.
Dead Dog commercial.
Yes, the Dead Dog commercial. That's what it was.
I will say, in 2 episodes in, I mean, obviously it's a hard thing to do, but the soundtrack to the movie was so good, and the soundtrack to the anime is okay.
Yeah,
but I mean, they had Beck doing original songs for the movie, so that's a hard bar to clear.
Right.
Yeah, there's a couple of song choices that are like, oh no, I hate that song, crap.
Yeah.
But then there's a couple of times where they pick like Liam Lynch's United States of Whatever is Lucas Lee's theme song.
Oh,
and that's a
yeah.
fucking weird, obscure song.
It's-
and I cracked up.
Yeah.
It's really funny
Yeah.
though. It really works on that
Yeah.
in that scene.
Yeah, it's just a great choice.
Part of what didn't work for me in the beginning, and I think it's because the first episode is almost all echoes of the movie, and it's basically just a different version. And I didn't think any of it worked. It didn't have the same zip. It didn't have the same like it wasn't as funny.
The
And I was
pacing of the
like,
lines
oh.
is slower and odd. Yeah.
Because there's a bit in the movie that I love where Knives and Ramona are about to meet, and Scott is watching in horror from the side, and he's watching as they're introducing each other.
That is different. Yes, that
And
comes
he
off totally
turns
different.
he turns to them and he's like, "We have to play now and loud."
Yes.
and that always cracks me up. And they didn't do that
Because
here,
the
and the one
speed-
they did
No.
instead.
The speed of a
didn't
movie
work.
is different because they're trying to get more done,
They're doing a
accomplished in
movie.
time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that scene made Scott more of an asshole because he's deliberately trying to overplay so
Keep
that
them
they
from
don't
talking. Yeah.
they don't meet.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the show they play it like he's suggesting it,
Like they're
it's
nervous.
not like he's
Yeah.
Like the band's nervous.
like the band's nervous. It doesn't put the onus on Scott of like Scott's only doing this to fucking get away with something.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think the thing is, I kind of like Jerky Scott. That feels like who Scott, because in the graphic novels, he is a jerk to the first like third of it, or at least
Yeah.
Right.
that
Well,
much.
that's what's
And then the last bit, he gets a job, and he
Mhm.
starts to grow up, and that is the story that isn't in the movie that I liked in the graphic novels. And I thought, oh, maybe we'll see more of that. But instead, it's a completely different story.
No, wholly different. Yeah,
Well, that's why I was like-
I have to assume this is not in any of the comics.
undickifying
Yeah, no, none
Scott.
of it's
I
it,
was like,
yeah.
I was worried about it because I'm like, oh well, his character arc needs to start from being an asshole in order for this to
right.
really work. But if it's not gonna if it's totally different, then I'm cool with it. Like, oh okay, if it's more about Ramona and her journey, then yeah, you can change Scott or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not that it's bad. It just didn't quite click for me. It's definitely good.
I will say, watching a ton of Bob's Burgers, which is the rare show where I want. It's like The Simpsons. Like I want to see the other buildings rotating name gag. Like there's a different pun next door to them every time.
Yeah.
There and like it's your funeral crematorium, and then Bob's Burgers, and then a rotating one. So I never skip Bob's Burgers. It's always fun. I skipped every single intro after the first one for Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
I really hate that song, and that encapsulates nope, I'm really enjoying this, but I'm also tolerating a pretty good amount of anime in my sandwich here.
Yes.
And the song is too much. Like if you're
Get
not
these
going to end
pickles
with
outta here.
roundabout, you can't open with this.
Yeah.
You thought it would be a Scott Pilgrim intro song, but it is me, Dio.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have other thoughts?
Yeah.
No, I think the pacing might be right because even if it was paced like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, maybe you guys would like it, like because that is there's a slow, methodical weirdness.
I like this
to the
so much
show.
more than JoJo. But
same.
JoJo's is faster. Yeah, this is slower than the movie.
It also means that there's no jump out the window gag, coat grab with
Right.
like that's
Right.
not the vibe of this movie, which is weird because
Right.
Edgar Wright is all about the.
Well, this isn't directed by Wright.
Right, but like the
Right.
cut, so like maybe that's the spice that's missing of as far as from the movie is the kinetic energy is now more of a milieu of like, oh, come join us in this romp in this strange world, rather than getting dragged by a fucking coked up Edgar Wright. Like, all right, here we go. You want to see you get punched into coins?
I think I liked that crazy frenetic pacing, and I'm missing it here.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Yeah, but anyway, it's like I say, it's good. People should watch, and I will probably give another couple episodes after Les told me some things I definitely want to see. That will do it for us for the week. Happy Thanksgiving to all our listeners, or if you're not in America eating turkey or in America not eating turkey, happy Thursday, I guess. It'll be Friday when you hear this. Happy last Thursday. I don't know what I'm doing
happy
here.
last Thursday indeed. A very merry last Thursday to you, sir.
And thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Les.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, dudes.
Thanks, Turkey.
Thanks, Turkey. Thanks, Ham. Thanks, mashed potatoes.
Thanks, Gravy.
And until next time.
TV Dude's fat.
TV Dude's out. Thanks, mashed potatoes. Just sounds like Brack.
Mashed potato.
Thank you, sandwich.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.
All right, so let's talk about the Marvels. This is Marvel's shortest film ever, I believe.
Yes.
It is one of its few directed by a female director. It is one of its few starring 3 female stars and women of color. It is one that ties into 3 different TV shows. 2 for sure, 1 a little bit off the side.
It's got a stinger that actually fucking changes some shit.
It is a sequel to Captain Marvel, sort of. And it was getting pilloried almost immediately by like Variety seems to just like have it in for this movie and has since the outset. And I fucking loved this movie. I thought this was the best, excepting Guardians 3 and Spider-Man No Way Home, which I believe has asterisks on them as MCU movies. This was the best movie Marvel has made since Endgame. Like, there's nothing has come close for me.
I think I'd agree with that. This was fun in a way that, like, I'm thinking of like Shang-Chi and
Shang-Chi's. I mean, no, I'm not saying I'm not as down on Marvel as a lot of people are, but I think that Wakanda Forever, while it has great stuff in it, is a mess and it's a little long. And it definitely, you could feel that they had to work around.
Well, same with Multiverse of Madness.
And
like, I really enjoyed Quantumania and Multiverse, but they're kind of
like,
long, and I don't remember what all happened. This was This was fun. I told Nick and I walked out of the theater and I was like, don't you dare tell Marvel I ever fucking said this. I will deny it to my grave. But that movie could have breathed a little. It could have been 20 minutes longer and hit 2 beats a little heavier, and I would have liked it a little more.
That's the craziest thing.
If you ever tell anyone I said it could be 15 to 20 minutes longer, I will deny it.
That is the biggest, weirdest thing about it is, like, I really like this movie as is, and I understand, I appreciate Nita Costa keeping it short and sweet and not trying to make it a big epic thing. I think
not trying to pretend that it's super important just on length. Yeah.
But you're not wrong that a couple more scenes with Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau,
right? To show losing her, it's a little bigger.
Right. A little more with the family interacting with everyone.
The family I
thought Kamala Khan was the one that had the exact right amount of family dynamic and
but I wanted a little more with the it being Carol's fault about, like, you killed the Supreme Intelligence, which seems like the right move, but that also then caused the Civil War.
Yeah.
Well, also they rushed the Miss Marvel learning to or is teaching Carol to, like, save other, like, I wasn't exactly sure what they were who was trying to teach who what lesson, as far as, hey, we can only save so many
in the second act when they lost some Skrulls there.
And
well, I think the point was they were all trying to they all have things to teach each other.
Right.
I like that Kamala Khan brought that bit to, like, the Carol of, like, hey, you don't have to, everything's not on you. Like, Kamala was the one to bring that, like, everything is not on you.
I don't think anything in this movie didn't work for me. I just, it's the absolutely rare, complete fluke. I will remember this movie forever for being the only thing I've seen in a year that felt rushed.
Man, I don't know that I feel like it felt rushed. I feel like it felt tighter than a lot of movies, and I think
it is tighter than a lot of movies.
We're not used to that.
No,
right.
It's the same reason that, like, I honestly would, if the flaws this movie has for me are that it's a little rushed or too short for me, I'm gonna let that stand. Honestly, that's fine.
Or, like, I would have loved a few more Carol and Monica scenes, a little bit more of Carol's, like, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think any of it's missing. I think they get everything across strongly enough.
I'm so glad it's not a 2 hour and 15-minute part 1 of the Marvels.
Right. Yeah.
So this is where the movie actually falls down, is the Marvel setup stuff it needs to do. Valkyrie comes into the movie and leaves, and it feels like
it is out.
What the?
It's just long enough for me to go, oh yeah, you're in charge of Asgard.
But also it hints at a relationship between her and Carol that we've never seen, that I think might be interesting, but
that they can't Well, they know exactly what they're doing.
Well, I mean, I think
They are
they're
hinting as
implying.
well,
It could
'cause-
be just that Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie feels like, dude, why is it that
She's hitting on
everyone you talk to
everybody.
feels like you're fucking them?
Valkyrie is a bi icon.
Right,
and that is
right.
just the truth. And the thing is, and Carol might as well be a lesbian.
I think that's her
the way
space
that-
girlfriend, but they can't say it for the
thing
China
is,
market.
They can't say it, but they absolutely know what they're doing.
Well, they basically
And I think
like
that's why we
they
don't
all
get an
but stated that in the previous movie. I was like with Monica Rambeau or
Yeah.
or it's Monica Rambeau is the
Well, her
mom,
mom.
right?
Yeah, no,
No.
it's
No, Monica's the daughter.
No, Monica's the daughter. Who's
Yeah.
Who's the mom?
Who's the mom?
The mom is
Damn it,
Maria Rambeau.
Maria.
Yeah.
Maria Rambeau.
Yeah.
So they all but
Yeah.
say that in Maria of like Auntie Carol. Like I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
All right.
They're very careful not to say it, but it is very heavily implied. If you read between the lines at all, it's there. But they can't because they need the international market, which sucks. But that's
well,
what
if
sucks.
or at least have anything of like a scene of like after Endgame, is that where they met up and realizes that Valkyrie can use the Bifrost, and that's how Carol fucking gets
So-
around the galaxy.
So here's where I come in as a comics fan. I was used to, and coming in the 80s especially, I was used to characters showing up and I'm like, who the fuck is that? Oh, they seem cool. Oh, they're gone.
Right.
And then there's a little editor's note that says asterisk.
Yeah.
How did they meet? Well, we'll explain a future
Right.
issue, True Believers. And I'm like, so I'm cool with that. I am
That
absolutely
kind of
cool
worked.
with that.
That kind of worked for me on a like. This may be hitting differently because movies don't get to play this way usually.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it did. It felt comic book as fuck. When I came out of the movie, I looked at Nick and went, "So that's my template for how you do a Legion of Superheroes movie.
Yeah.
Don't
absolutely,
explain
yeah.
shit. It's nobody's origin. You just drop
Yeah,
into the
just
weirdest
keep moving,
crap
yeah.
you've ever seen and keep moving."
There's a lot of that in this movie. I mean, the musical Planet, which I fucking
that,
love.
that was the other perfect moment. And that one, Nick, I think nailed it. Like they cut that at the right fucking moment.
Yeah.
When she's like, "Hey, no, we need to talk."
So there's definitely a
He's
longer
bilingual.
version, a longer like director's cut of this movie or something.
I don't think there is. Nia DaCosta said there's not.
Oh,
Like,
really?
This is her cut.
Okay, well,
This is her cut.
I believe there's at least some deleted scenes. I feel like in the fights, it feels like sometimes they forget that like there's supposed to be 3 locations in the fights, and every once in a while they forget one of them. In the early part.
I guess.
But I think
didn't
it's just
feel-
I think it's just
I
an
didn't
interest
feel
of
that
keeping
watching
it fucking moving.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
I never.
No,
felt
all
like,
of it is
hey,
in
wait
the
a minute, what
interest
happened
of
to that?
keeping it going faster, and some of it I would go, okay, on this relationship stuff, you should actually probably add in another scene or two. But the musical Planet, I was like, that got cut right to the right amount of get down there,
Man,
have a musical number, don't explain it, and then get back out.
there was so much. The bit where she's like, "Wait a minute, we can talk to him." Oh yeah, he's bilingual. He can just talk.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
Well, why the
But
fuck did we
like
do
they keep trying to talk to when she tries to talk to the little girl. I'm like, no, most of the people here do not understand what you're saying if you don't sing.
You have to sing.
I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
That was
Oh,
beautiful. I
that-
loved everything about that.
That felt straight out of Star Trek or
well,
something for me. Like that was old school Marvel. for me.
And then Goose's litter.
Oh my god,
So again, they don't ever explain the
No,
Falcon. If
no.
you didn't see Captain Marvel,
that MacGuffin
just
that MacGuffin
yeah,
just
it just-
appears. Yeah, they don't explain. They don't explain who any of these people are at the start. Man, Monica's just using
Nope.
powers. Hope you saw
Yep.
WandaVision.
I hope you saw WandaVision. If you didn't, just don't worry.
Fucking roll along.
Editor's note, as seen in WandaVision.
Well,
that's it.
they show the
I am
flashbacks.
so good with that.
That's what Carol's flashbacks are for when she's doing the scroll thing.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the reason in the story is that she's trying to get her memories back. That
Right.
I'm like, yeah, sure, but that never shows up in the story. It's really here
There's
to
lots of little efficiency things that I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, it's refreshing. Why haven't I seen this in any major movie in the last 2 or
Yeah.
3 years? Why doesn't anybody fold anything in?
And I think that's the thing. It's not getting credit for what it does well because it is getting pilloried for all the sins of all the marvelous movies that have been disappointing for the last 4 or 5
so,
years.
yeah, so that's
I
where
realize that, well, at least it's short does not sound like the compliment that I mean it to.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
I think I will have to go on record as saying I liked the Marvels the least out of the TV dudes. I think it's
Mhm.
definitely mid-tier Marvel, and like, yeah, this is about this. It's about the same as Shang-Chi. It has like a major kind of problem in the middle of it, or that like it's kind of 2 different movies. Like this one's more of a pacing thing that I think is what really
I
hampers
like
it.
this.
But I feel like it's the same level as Shang-Chi or Multiverse of Madness. Or
Man, I totally disagree with
Yeah,
that.
I think it's better than both of those for me.
It's better than both those.
because
it's
it's
Ant-Man.
and
Good.
I know it's because it's shorter. Like
No, it's not just that though. It's also more fun. Like, oh, you know what else?
It's just silly.
Nick Fury in this. This is the Nick Fury I want. Where was this Nick Fury in?
He's
any
only like this
episode
when
of
he's hanging
Secret
out with
Invasion?
Carol. He's only silly when he's hanging out with
spinning
Carol.
the gun and hanging out. Yeah.
But the thing is, he's always confident and good at what he does, and he wasn't that in Secret Invasion. I understood why they were trying to do it, but it sucked.
So this movie is actually paying for the sins of, and not, it's more than Secret Invasion, but Secret Invasion was the most recent thing. And it really killed a lot of Marvel enthusiasm, I think. Because Secret Invasion is, if you were to tell me Secret Invasion was like, everyone hates Secret Invasion, like that's what's losing us a bunch of money, I would believe like, that was a fucking rough draft, if anything. I don't know what Marvel was doing on that.
Yeah.
And even then,
it's like a third about Skrulls. I honestly, I feel like this movie just did like just workman. Like, well, you know, does this tie into Secret Invasion? What show? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, there's
I've
no
never did that happen. Like
at all. Like
I know it ties in plot. I mean, it has to tie in plot wise, like where the after effects of the Skrulls are felt and stuff. But I would swear tonally that Marvel is going, oh no, Secret Invasion didn't happen.
I'm not convinced that the three writers of this movie ever saw Secret Invasion.
It didn't feel like it. I was wondering halfway through if they had.
What do you mean we can't use Talos? He's what?
They definitely saw Miss Marvel though, because Iman Vellani steals this fucking movie.
She's the best thing about it.
She is so good, and I knew she'd be good. And that's the thing is like she's one of the thumb is on the scale for this for me, because Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan are two of my favorite characters. Monica Rambeau has been a favorite since I started reading comic in the 80s. Kamala Khan is a character I fell in love with most recently when she was created about, 10 years ago. And so to have those two characters together with Brie Larson's Carol Danvers, who I can honestly take or leave, that was going to win me over. And I thought the three of them together had great chemistry. The bit where they're learning to work together with the power switching.
Yeah,
that was really great.
Really good.
I don't see that in
super fun.
nearly enough movies. Like,
well, they never really explain the power switching, which I think is a smart move in the long run. Initially, I was
the
kind of
most
like,
they say is that it happens when they use it all at once. But even that, they don't quite.
They got quantum entangled because they touched a word.
But it doesn't happen every time they use their powers, because that would be too complicated.
It's only when they're both using their powers.
Only then more than one of them are using it at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
When one of them uses, they do say that, but they don't repeat stuff in this movie. They're like, you don't get it the first time. That's it. But yes, they do say that. But like, basically, it's when both of them use their powers. That's when they switch.
Got it.
So if one of them is using their powers and the other one isn't, they're fine.
Got it. So they have to be careful. So that's what they're trying to be careful of.
And when they're all in different locations, when they would get attacked at the same time is when it would suddenly start happening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think that training sequence is a lot of fun, and it pays off in a pretty good
that fight scene is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the action in this is really
that
good.
fight scene,
I will say,
makes me want to see a Nightcrawler.
Right.
Movie.
Yeah.
When they put the universal weapon down on Kamala's head, did anybody else think that they wouldn't just switch? That Carol wasn't about to put herself there?
Well, again, and that's what I'm going to point out throughout the rest of this movie, is that emotionally and everything, it all works. Right. To actual plot wise, I don't understand what's happening. And they change the rules on a couple things a couple times. And the why don't they just switch between when she's about to get killed by the hammer? Good question. I don't know. I could say that she's using the power from the gauntlet, which is canceling out her gauntlet. Maybe they don't really establish that, but I could probably no prize that away.
All she says is
when they have the two gauntlets,
I'll do it too fast, then you can do. Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, they have a scientist on the Kree that says, "Hey, you can't revive the sun with one gauntlet. You'll kill yourself." And be like, "That'll be worth it to revive the Kree Empire." And she proceeds to not do that. She goes to fix the other problems first, which is smarter. Which is fix the last problem that's going to kill you first.
Then she gets the two gauntlets, and then it does what the one gauntlet would have done.
So they were like, "You need both gauntlets to do it without killing yourself." And then later in the movie, they go, "You can't use both gauntlets at once; it'll kill you." No, that's not what you said.
She also siphons our sun and reboots the sun.
Yes,
there's
which is weird.
And here's where the movie is sloppy. It's the villain. The villain and everything the villain deals with, including the plot.
She's just nuts.
And because they don't really spend enough time with the villain as to, like, sometimes she's sympathetic as to she's trying to save her planet, and sometimes it's all about the revenge on Carol, and like, wait, which is more important to you? Like, did you know Ronin? Is that why you're carrying the hammer, or do you just have the title now?
So again, I'm going to go back to my comics knowledge here. Accuser is a rank in the Kree military.
Right.
So she is like Ronan, but she probably has nothing to do with Ronan. However, she has the same problems as Ronan in that they've decided in the MCU that the accusers are all fanatics.
Right.
And that they're all a little crazy. And I do think that the villain, I think the villain's fine. I think she's every bit as good as every other Marvel villain.
There's a lot of mid-tier. There's a lot of Marvel villains that are
a lot of
mad at me.
mid-tier villains.
I think this
she's
one
not
is
terrible. She's not what's the name? Chris Eccleston in Thor: Dark World. She's not on that level.
sure.
She's
Well, I mean, you
bad.
remember her.
But
it speaks to a writer's room that is moving the villain around to match the hero's story as they go places.
I don't disagree. The villain could have used some work. I do think the problem superhero movies used to have 20 years ago was that everyone was so much more interested in the villain that the heroes were boring. And we flipped that.
Mhm.
Now the heroes are all interesting, and the villains on occasion, more than one occasion, are boring. And if that's the price we got to pay, I'm willing to pay that price every time.
Yeah, I'll take not worshiping the villain this time, but she does just feel there to move the plot along. And
she is
and
a
that
problem.
lady looks so nuts. Who was the lady in the polka dotted dress in fucking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that just like, oh, you're definitely the villain.
Well, like you
I know what
said,
you're talking about.
oh damn it. Well, like you said, Les, when we came out of it, like there's a comic bookiness to the Carol, you've been around here for 30 years and you never thought of trying to like restart the star. Like Monica thought about it and like the first time she heard about
It
it.
was like, but Carol, aren't you just a giant fucking power source?
And that's a no prize. Like she says she's never done anything like that before. And that they basically get there with the story, which is that Carol is the Annihilator. She knows how to destroy stuff and she needs to learn how to fix things. And that that's where they're kind of going. And they almost get there. Like another scene, and they could have really sold that for me.
I think one of the challenges of this movie is that Carol, like Captain Marvel, takes place in 1990 something. I don't remember what, and this is in 2023. So Carol has had like 30 years of adventures
off screen.
That they
and somehow
really
helped no one.
That they really can't. Well, this thing, they really can't have this whole thing where Carol like totally like. Then you have to explain it, and that's a whole other movie. And I don't want to see that movie. I don't actually want to see Captain Marvel 2 that's about what she was doing in the 30 years in space. I don't care.
No, I can live with her just showing up on planets and being a princess and having to be like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's honestly what I want, Carol. I don't want more explanation of all that. I think, and I've seen people say, why didn't they do that story? Why are we getting this as like a little 5-minute thing? And I think the answer is, if we gotten that story, it would have been boring as shit.
All I'm saying is that maybe a flashback to all the wars she fought, and really like that she's not helping things by like, and they do. And it's basically the same what they do with the Supreme Intelligence. Like they show her destroying that, and I was like, okay, yeah, and that didn't actually solve. Like it solved the Kree Empire problem, but
so here's my problem with that, and I think that one of the issues is she did this big thing fairly early on, and it fucked up everything. And it made her gun shy about both going home and doing anything big like that again. And I think that's as good an explanation as you can give for why hasn't Carol utterly changed the star system and been back to see Monica in 30 years.
She has been back to see Marie, which I thought was interesting.
Right. She did go back because she was dying.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
which I thought was an interesting use of that flashback technology.
But I think the thing is,
that was cool.
If you show that flashback of Carol just, what she was doing and destroying things over and over again, we're going to hate Carol. You can't have her fuck up.
I think
that
everyone
badly
already does, man. I think that ship has sailed.
That's a different argument. But I think all you're doing is weakening the character.
It would sell her guilt more.
I would kind of dig an interplanetary, just like this a TV series that would basically be Reacher.
Yeah.
But a blonde woman who is like just going planet to planet that like can walk over and like kick the front of your truck.
Well, the scrolls.
I will.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I will say one of the issues I have, and I hate to talk so much about the issue because I want to make it clear. I fucking loved this movie, and I think so much what it does is right. But if we're going to talk about the stuff where I don't think it doesn't quite work, I do think one of the issues is Captain Marvel has the Superman problem. She's so powerful that they sometimes have to pretend she's not powerful.
Yeah.
There are things in here where like, man, this shouldn't be a fight.
No, why?
This should be
why
done.
did she throw a dude across a room or yeah. There were a couple of times that I thought like before they've all gotten in the same room and discussed like started to figure out what's causing the switch or be careful about it. there's a fight in the hallway. I think it's right before the first time we see Goose eat a dude.
Yeah.
She stops using her powers.
She starts to charge her fist up, and then it's like, and she just beats the shit out of a couple of dudes because she can.
Well, that's good. Well,
and I was like, that's respect.
Also,
that's why I love Carol.
But that's also because she started to figure out the switching.
Right.
Yeah.
She knows if she uses
but I just love that, like, oh, that's right. Carol Danvers can beat the shit out of you. Like, she could have beat the shit out of you before she was cosmically
Which
powered.
you think would be a cute, clever way to hinder her in the movie with going forward, but they kind of fix that.
They fix it pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
But also, I think one other thing they could have done. This is a bit of dialogue. They could have thrown this in again to the Rush thing. If they had said she never used her full power again after what she did, because she saw what that did to the Kree. So last time she used her full power, she basically wrecked a civilization, and not just that planet, but an empire. And if she's like, I can't do that. If she's holding back the whole time, that makes more sense.
I would really need a flashback to sell that then.
There's like a 2.5 hour version of this movie that would have come out from Marvel a couple of years ago where you see the kind of governor. It was a tech governor that was keeping her power limited from the Kree.
Right.
But that she's basically and have somebody explain, like, you're putting the same governor on yourself just because you're scared to use it. Well, the last time I used it, I thought I did what was like. There's a long ass version where I have to sit through all of it. And in that version, I don't walk out going, "Squee, giant space fight."
That version's less fun. That version is so much less fun.
That's definitely one of those things I can definitely. I can let that go as far as okay. When she punches the villain I don't care how much energy she absorbs. If she gets punched in the face, shouldn't Carol like knock her goddamn head off? I'll let that go. I'm like, okay, they have to have a fight, and the fight's really cool. So I'll pretend that the bangle is giving her more fucking strength. Like,
do they explain at all why Carol has the second bangle at the end?
No, and I was wondering about that. I mean, I assume it's a.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Nick.
No, that's a good question. I honestly,
I think the honest answer is we don't want Miss Marvel to be cosmically powered.
Right.
I figured that was
maybe maybe they decided there was again dialogue thing. They could have a reason to not keep the quantum bands together. Which, by the way, I fucking love that these are the quantum bands.
That's pretty cool.
I loved that.
That is a tie-in to the original Captain Marvel, and it is also Quasar, one of my favorite characters.
Also,
I had a
explaining
Quasar
the jump
moment
system was kind of neat. As far as you mean that thing they've been using since Guardians of the Galaxy that has never been brought up before?
Yeah, I like that too. But the quantum bands can be used to switch between our universe and the negative zone. And so when they did that thing at the end, I was like,
"Oh shit, is that the negative zone?"
I was like, "Are we about to see the negative zone? Are they going to tease us Fantasy
But no,
4?
that's not where we are.
But no, that's not where we are. And holy shit, where we are was great. I do want to mention one thing we didn't specifically call out, which is the best scene in the movie, which is the best needle drop of the movie.
Oh my god, yes!
Which is the multiple gooses.
Oh my god,
the whole litter of Flurkins
eating the entire staff of the Saber Station, while memories from Cat's place.
And the announcement: do not run.
Do not
run
allow
from the
the Flurkin.
Allow yourself to be
you.
eaten by the Flurkin. Like
that was,
and I love that
whole thing.
Not one person heeds that. They're all running away terrified.
Oh god, it's the most terrifying thing ever.
And hides around the corner and looks over. Like Nick and I laughed in the theater every single time that it cut over to just two cats. Like,
yep.
Well, they kept
cleaning themselves. Well, somebody screams
in the background. They kept getting dragged away and like.
Yep. Everyone who loved this movie, and that was everyone on my friends list loved this movie. Apparently, we just need more of my friends to see this get successful. But every one of them mentioned leaving the movie having laughed hard enough to cry, and almost all of them it was that scene.
Yeah, that scene was when I cracked.
That's
up.
worth that was worth the price of admission.
Yes,
honestly.
Yeah, nothing else. If nothing else had worked, that's worked.
Still If everything else was trash, and honestly, like I didn't hate it. Also. I would like as much as Randy likes to stress he loved it. I also would like to stress I did not hate it.
Yeah. You have more nitpicks. The thing is, I'm willing to nitpick it later. Right now, I'm in the camp of why the fuck didn't you people go see this movie?
Right.
And so I'm like,
it's Kamala Khan. It's one of your favorite fucking characters.
Yeah.
But also having seen all the Marvel movies, like this is not the bottom of the heap. Like,
No,
like
and
people
people-
acting like this is the trash fire.
Well,
I
those
don't
comparing
see
it to
I
Thor:
don't
The
get it.
Dark World, I feel like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Okay,
Or even-
calm the fuck down.
or even Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm like, guys, this is way better.
No,
than
this is
Thor:
more
Love
fun
and
than
Thunder.
that. It's shorter. It doesn't needle drop the same needle drop multiple times.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what? You're right. It's kind of for me, it's the same level mess, but it gets its job done in 90 minutes. So yeah, I guess it comes out on top of
Like,
Thor: Love and Thunder.
All right, we've done our talk about the movie. Are we ready to have our dessert and talk about those 2 post-credit scenes?
Yes.
We got more to say.
Well, I was about to, that first spoiler, I think is part of why Randy loves this movie.
Oh, well.
Or not spoiler, stinger.
You mean Miss Marvel?
No.
You mean the Miss Marvel one? Okay, no, because I did love that stinger, but the one that I loved was Kamala Khan deciding to imitate Nick Fury.
No, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. With what is clearly the stolen pad from
I found it in my couch.
Where'd you find that? In my couch.
And that whole thing, I love the idea.
Did you think you were the only
You've entered a whole new world.
I'm 23.
I am 23. I don't know. Wait.
I know.
and like,
do you know Ant-Man had a daughter?
Kamala Khan forming the Young Avengers is
awesome.
Like, no matter what else the Marvel MCU does, if they don't give me that fucking Young Avengers movie, I'm going to burn down the studio.
Nick and I both had like hands clapped together, like feet tapping when Pizza Dog showed up. Like,
yep. So apparently, I saw an interview with Marvelani, and apparently there was another Young Avenger that they were going to use in this, and they decided to use Haley Bishop or Haley Stanfield as Kate Bishop, and I can't imagine who would be a better fit. I mean, yeah,
that would be
true. But here's
the only other person.
I'm deeply worried that the other person was going to be because they've showed Scar or whatever the fuck Hulk's kid.
Yeah, that's true.
Sakaar?
Well, they did.
Yeah,
Scar.
Oh, Sakaar is the planet. Scar is the kid. That's right.
Yeah. So, in the IMDb list, Tommy Maximoff, was he in either of these teasers that I missed?
Not that I saw.
Wanda's kid, and I'm like, was he the kid? Because that wouldn't have been as interesting. I'm glad they didn't do it.
Who's Tommy?
Is he in one of Monica's? Is he in somewhere in one of the flashback shots?
He could be
because of WandaVision.
Because of WandaVision, maybe so.
Yeah, maybe he's in one of the flashbacks.
That would make sense. But anyway, much as I loved, I actually, much as Quantumania has issues, I thought that Catherine Newton was fantastic as Stinger. I think she'll make a great part of that cast. But there was no one who's going to be better at bouncing off Miss Marvel than Kate Bishop.
Oh yeah, the fangirls unite.
That was delightful, and I cannot wait because in the comics they don't work together.
No,
Kate is in the Young Avengers. Miss Marvel is in the Champions. They're not in the same team.
Yeah, I didn't think of Miss Marvel as a Young Avenger.
And combining them to form the Young Avengers makes so much sense.
Well, because they're great. They're fangirls for the opposite spectrums, for the most powerful Avenger and the least powerful Avenger.
Right.
Yeah. That is all I want. I don't care what else the MCU does, honestly. I just want that Young Avengers movie.
No, that looks that looks wonderful.
So I that was very exciting. I loved that. And then the second one.
Then the stinger that we knew we were getting from the moment that she was trapped on the other side of that.
We knew it was somewhere. I didn't know.
I thought it was going to be the other universe where her but then I'm like, oh no, in Multiverse of Madness, that universe Monica died. Or
I thought it was going to be Fantastic Four.
She did, but what's the timeline? Because Lashana Lynch is playing Maria Rambeau, who plays she's binary here, which is an identity that Carol Danvers had before she became Captain Marvel in the comics. Which, by the way, I love using the multiple code names for different characters. That was very clever.
Yeah.
But what if Binary decides to become Captain Marvel in this universe? And what if Multiverse of Madness takes place after this? Like, it could be the same universe. I don't think it is. But there's an argument to be made because it's also Kelsey Grammer as Hank McCoy, which is
I guess it would line up as far as if it's just in the past.
As Deadpool.
Yeah,
I get
it is the same universe. Yeah, you're right.
My guess is that's a brand new universe. Why?
I think it is. I think it is too. But you could make it the same universe.
Yeah, you could if you wanted to.
It could be the.
But either way, I feel like this is the second little breadcrumb tease. Like, we established Miss Marvel at the end of her series as a mutant.
Yep.
And now we're seeing mutants in another universe. Like we're about to bring mutants crashing down into the MCU.
So here's the argument I was having with
In a year, maybe.
both my staffers actually. My managers and I were talking about this after the movie, and one of them is very, very convinced, and the other one is on my side. And I'll let you all figure out pretty quickly what my opinion is, whether or not they're going to bring in the X-Men by bringing in the X-Men from another universe, or if this is just kind of fun teases and they're actually going to do a new thing to introduce the X-Men in the MCU.
I think they're going to do a new thing. I think this is just a fun tease, and Monica's going to show back up going, "Oh no, I met these dudes."
I mean, like if you had asked me 6 months ago, I would say that exact same thing. Although now they're restructuring, maybe they're going to chicken out on that. Maybe like I would say that's definitely the original plan. But I don't know.
I don't think it would work for home audiences, but I would.
Multiverse seems easy.
Pay to see them do the entire X-Men fucking things up, bringing in young X-Men, and that fucking things up worse. Like that whole plot line. That would crack me up if they established X-Men and then you brought in from another universe guys. You're like, hey, don't make the same mistakes as us. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I feel like this is breadcrumb fun teaser things,
I think
but that
so.
they're going to because the launching the X-Men is really the shot in the arm the MCU is going to need in a few years. Like Fantastic Four is one thing. If you do it right, you can prove that you can do a good Fantastic Four movie. But the X-Men opens up a whole vista of new stuff that nobody's been able to do because you can actually cross them over with the rest of the Marvel Universe. And I think the way you do that is new young actors. You don't bring in people who played these characters.
No, the oldest person in the X-Men should be Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine.
Right, exactly. Yeah. so I think it's a fun teaser, and I love that they're doing it, but I don't think it's an indication of where they're going to go.
I like the idea that, like with everything else, like the Ralph Boner of it all, that every time you think it's going to be some sort of like, well, that's an easy answer as far as bringing the X-Men over, like it's going to be something cute and worked into a way that, like Les said, I would love bringing the X-Men in a way that makes it to where they fucked up their own timeline so much they have to hang here now. Like
yes, honestly, that would.
They've established that like,
joke of like, is the X-Men movie continuity fucked up? That's the most X-Men thing about it.
It's like it's all that X-Men have just from the start our timeline fucked. Like,
yeah. I'm really kind of sad that the Marvels didn't do better. Not because as a film goer, I don't want to give a shit about box office. Like I don't want to care.
Well, you don't want to take the wrong lessons away from it.
Whether or not we're going to get more of this, like, will Nia DaCosta ever get to direct another Marvel movie? Probably not.
Right.
Will they decide nobody likes Captain Marvel? Will they decide, oh, let's not do this, Avengers follow-up? Because like if they take the wrong lessons from any of this, I'll be really fucking pissed.
Monica
I have
Rambeau
a deep abiding fear that like, well, clearly everything's got to be over 2 hours. I mean, look how Oppenheimer did.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And
compared to Marvel's.
What sucks about it though is that opening box office, I'm like, okay, the quality of the movie could have done anything, and that's not going to affect the opening box office. Like going forward, maybe I'll give you the credit of like of word of mouth or whatever, but the opening box office is collective sins of, like you said, Randy, the past 7 Marvel projects that people kind of weren't into.
Yeah. I'm upset that this movie, which is so good, is getting treated as if it is the worst thing they've ever produced. And I'm like, man, this movie does not deserve to have the sins of every other movie.
I really want to put it all on Secret Invasion, one, because I just feel like that was a mistake. But I feel like that's the first time the MCU felt like actual homework. And I think it killed enthusiasm to go into the theater.
Yeah.
Even if you don't watch all the movies or whatever, you still are, you're part of the zeitgeist of like the excitement that happens going. And the Secret Invasion should have made everyone excited to go see Captain Marvel with the Skrull connection, and it couldn't have been. It's too close. They couldn't have cut out the Skrull, because I was like, there's a lot less Skrull stuff in this than I thought there was gonna be.
It does. It does feel like Secret Invasion should have been the lead into this, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a perfect storm of stuff. They couldn't promote it. It is about women and people of color, which of course is a whole segment of the internet that wants it to fail based on that.
Well, also like they can only half do some of the storylines, like you said with Valkyrie, because they're afraid of China, basically.
Yeah. it came out in November, which is not ideal. The time it came out was not the best.
How
Not the best time for it.
How important is it for actors to go on Jimmy Kimmel and all these talk shows to promote their movies? I never thought it was important before.
I guess more than I realized.
It turns out maybe more than we
Is
thought.
it more?
Yeah.
Is it more than like? Do regular people like? Is that where regular people get their fucking?
I think because so here's the thing. If you look now, after the movie came out, the strike ended, and you look at Iman Vellani going around, and especially Iman Vellani and Brie Larson together, going around doing the buddy stuff on various red carpets, various things on. It's so winning, and Iman Vellani is so charming. You can't tell me that wouldn't have moved the needle and got people to go, "Oh, I want to see that."
Had we had 3 months of
But
that
I think
instead of
if we'd had 3 months of that, but
Yeah.
I think instead people were like, Captain Marvel, that was the boring one. And I think that's all they heard. Like they didn't want to go see it. They hadn't seen Miss Marvel because a lot of people didn't want Disney Plus. I think it's weirdly having her in front and center would have done a world of good for this movie. And it does kind of suck that is like that was one of the costs of the strike, which the strike was a good and noble thing, but it nobody's talking about that. Variety fucking had it out for this movie. Every day they were talking about how bad it was doing, what a disaster it was. Their headline writers were looking in the thesaurus to find different synonyms for fucked up.
Everyone's had their Marvel's Lost Its Way article ready in the chamber 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, and I can kind of understand it. Marvel, like up until the last couple of years, its output. Maybe you didn't you didn't really love every movie, but they were all so quality workmanlike movies. Like, well, geez, you can't really. Well, Marvel delivers another fucking good movie again. It's not as interesting, kind of like reporting on political campaigns. Like you don't want to just say that you're looking for when they're up, you're looking for their fall. When they're down, you're looking for their rise.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe that could be the silver lining here. Maybe with a year off from Marvel and everybody having gotten out of the system how terrible the Marvels was or whatever bullshit.
A year from now, we'll be ready for a comeback story.
From now, they'll be ready for the comeback story.
Ooh.
And that may be the narrative. No matter what happens, they'll be like, Marvel does it again. We thought they were down. And I'm like, if I'm a
promoter at Marvel at Disney Marvel, that's probably exactly what I'm doing.
That's exactly what you're planning for. Yeah.
Man, I'm looking through Variety's headlines on the Marvels, and they are so.
Right, it's
the Marvels gets grounded. The Marvels misfires. The Marvels flops. Oh wait. The Marvels wins on Quiet Weekend in Korea. Like even on headlines where they give them a win, they gotta qualify it with but it was a quiet weekend. Marvel's disappoints. Marvel's bombs.
How many articles do they write about the Marvels? Good lord!
These are all within 2 weeks. These are all within. Most of these are within 1 week.
Did the Marvels fuck their mom? What happened?
It does feel like you remember. You know that Simpsons meme of stop, he's already dead. Variety was doing that bit to the Marvels.
Jesus.
There's an article about how Stephen King thinks that gloating over the Marvels failing is very unpleasant and a bad look.
Yeah.
The headline for that article is Stephen King doesn't care for Marvel movies.
Oh,
yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It is crazy. It feels weirdly personal.
So, you know what? I kind of, in the back of my mind, I knew Stephen King was one of those people that probably didn't like him, but I do like that, at least he had the common courtesy to just keep his fucking mouth shut.
Right. Yeah, well, and that seems to be his, his stance on it. I don't care if you didn't like it, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Stop hating on things. It's hard to be creative.
Yeah. I think Marvel will be smart. I think if Marvel is smart, and if nothing else, Marvel has generally shown themselves to be very smart. What they're going to do is they're going to retool their whole thing. They're going to ditch the Kang. There's rumors this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to focus in on Fantastic Four, Young Avengers, and a retooled TV and movie schedule. And they're going to announce that and basically we've heard your complaints and we're sorry. And we're ready to come back and be the great Marvel you always loved. And then they're going to do the comeback story thing and
that's the smartest thing for them to do.
That's most likely what they're going to do.
Right.
And what sucks is that all these movies that unfortunately were also meant to diversify their cast are going to get thrown in the not as good Marvel pile.
Oh yeah. We're looking at you, Blade.
And that's a shame.
Which is weird considering I don't really feel like it has gotten to the point where I think even the hardest diehard fans have to admit that Yeah, this definitely feels like a figuring out what we're gonna do next phase of Marvel. Like, this doesn't feel as polished as the last phase did, which was the end-all be-all phase. Uh,
Yeah.
and, but I thought, like, a lot of these movies, I'm like, man, they're all basically the same, like, they're basically the same level of quality I expect from Marvel, maybe a little bit overlong now that they have to cram in everything. Like, I don't while I thought this movie could be 15 minutes longer, I thought, Multiverse of Madness could be 15 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
Or Wakanda. Yeah. Wakanda Forever really needs to lose a little bit, like 15 minutes here to make it leaner and meaner.
And go back and don't kill Ramonda, by the way. Don't kill Rwanda or Ramonda. They don't kill Angela Bassett's character because that was dumb.
I mean, yeah, she's one of the man. It's one of those emotional arcs that you get. Like, oh, I mean, that makes sense for the character, but you're sacrificing you're sacrificing one of the actors everyone loves.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like killing Talos in Secret Invasion. I'm like, yeah, I get what you're
doing.
But why would you do
now
that?
But in the long run, why?
Yeah. Fake kill him and bring him back in the end credits. And do the same thing for her. That is, it's like this is a lesson that the movie guys I thought had learned because Batman and X-Men and all these guys, they spent a long time killing all their villains. And I'm like, y'all, in an action movie, you kill your villains. In a superhero movie, you put them in jail. You do not kill all your villains because you might want to use them again.
They better learn that lesson quick, because if we got X-Men coming, nobody dies.
Yeah.
Nobody stays dead. Lots of people die.
Oh, wait, your mom died? Why don't you just put them in the Genoshan regenerator or whatever the fuck we have now?
Yeah.
God, I hope
so your mom's Captain Krakoa now?
I hope there's no Krakoa in the MCU Marvel.
I hope we are decades away. I hope Krakoa in the MCU is a problem that our great grandchildren deal with on their embedded Black Mirror VR eyepieces.
Yeah. The third Marvel.
I just like the idea that there was some producer like on or some comic like creator was like running Marvel and was like, I'm sick of all these like convoluted ways we keep bringing all these X-Men back, and all the writers were like, gotcha, read you loud and clear. Let's make a simplified, specific way to bring them all back. No, that's not.
Yep. Now they can't die.
Damn it!
Pet Cemetery rules.
Don't bury a Wolverine there; it'll come back different.
All right. Well, I think we've talked over both the Marvels and Marvel as a whole for a while now.
You want to talk about the Madam Web trailer?
Let's save that. Let's save that. That is the Madam Web versus Craven versus maybe they'll drop the Venom 3 trailer. That's a whole Patreon we can do.
Oh man, what a great! No matter who wins, we all lose.
We all lose. All right. Thank you, Les. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Randy. Do you know how many times I've gone back in time and tried to make that conversation about the Madam Web trailer interesting? And it never... These powers are useless.
Fucking...
Thank you to our patrons for making these possible. And hope you all have a good Thanksgiving, or since you're listening to this on a Friday, had a good Thanksgiving or a happy Thursday. And until next time...
TVD's out! Higher, faster...
Further, bigger, stronger, faster,
what was the
more.
thing they said? Shit.
All right.
Further, faster, higher? That doesn't make any sense.